Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Miguel back again with another video, and today I have the Galaxy S24. Now, the Galaxy S24 is a phone that competes with a lot of other phones that I reviewed in the past. For example, the Xiaomi 14. Now, this is a direct contender to the S24. In today's video, I'm going to kind of find out whether the S24 is a better phone as compared to the Xiaomi 14 or even the likes of something like the Honor Magic 6 Pro. Even though the Magic 6 Pro is a proper flagship, they kind of fall within the same category because they're also priced very similarly. So let's go ahead and find out what we have here. So as you can see from the box, we really don't get anything over here. And if we compare the Xiaomi 14, which I reviewed in yesterday's video, we have a 90-watt charger, and we also have a data cable or a USB-C port alongside a case. But this really doesn't have anything. That's pretty much the standard nowadays with Samsung. Let's go ahead and see what we have in the box. And pretty much, as you can expect, there's really nothing much apart from the phone. I think the cable is here. Yeah, so the cable, the paperwork is going to be included here, and that's pretty much it. Now, one of the things that I liked immediately about the S24 is that it's compact. I myself, I'm not a big fan of big phones. I said the same thing about the Xiaomi 14, and the reason why I like this so much is because this is a phone that is a one-handed phone, which means that you can use it with one hand. You can use it while driving as well. I'm just joking. Don't do that. One of the things about the S24 is that just looking at it from the side, it looks very much like an iPhone. We have a flat edge on the back. We have flat edges on the sides, which are aluminum. And then we also have a flat display this time. I personally like this, but the thing is that because there's no softness to it, it kind of can hurt the hand a little bit. And if you compare the Xiaomi 14, the reason why this feels so much better in the hands is because it has a curved back, but even though it still has a flat edge display. Looking at the build quality, we have Gorilla Glass Victus on the back and on the front, and then we also have Armor Aluminum 2 on the sides. And if we compare this to the Xiaomi 14, then this has Gorilla Glass Victus 1, and it has aluminum frames, but the back glass is just regular back glass, so there's really no protection whatsoever. And then just looking at the overall design, you have the speaker system here, you have the USB-C port, you also have your SIM tray. On this side, we pretty much don't have anything. You have your microphones or your noise cancellation microphones, and then you have the volume rockers and the power button. Now, display-wise, there is a small difference between these two. In the size, notably, this has a 6.3-inch display, and the Samsung S24 has a 6.2-inch display. Both of them are AMOLED displays, and both of them are LTPO, which means that they can go from 120 Hz down to 1 Hz. But I did notice that the display on the Samsung seems to be a little bit more vivid or a little bit more bright. I think the colors are just generally better on the S24 as compared to the Xiaomi 14. And just before I get into all the details, I just want to mention the price. So I was actually surprised by the price of the Xiaomi 14 because this costs at around $1,000, which is unbelievable to me that a phone that is not really a mainstream company is now costing the same as the likes of the Samsung S24 Plus or even the iPhone 15. So you can go ahead and buy an iPhone 15 for around $800, which is around $100 to $200 less than this, depending on the specs that you go with. So I couldn't just wrap my head around that. And I usually, as you guys have seen from my previous videos, I'm not really a fan of Samsung, but I have to say that in this case, the better phone or the better value phone is actually the S24. And this may be, I mean, if you want to stick to Android, then yeah, by all means, go ahead and buy the S24 Ultra. But if you want to go towards iOS, then probably the iPhone 15 would be a very good match with this. Now, if we talk about the specs on this, now the thing about Samsung, as you may all know, is that it comes with two variants. One is the Snapdragon variant, and then one is the Exynos variant. And this year, again, we are faced with both of them. A lot of the Android phones that I reviewed in the previous days have Snapdragon's 8 Gen 3 chip, and the Exynos is exclusively reserved for Samsung phones, and it's the same case over here. So if I believe you get the European or the US version, then you get the Snapdragon version. But because this is the international version, or anywhere else apart from the US or Europe, if you buy the Galaxy S24 or the S24 Plus, you're going to get the Exynos 2400 chip, and that's what we have here. And I was able to tell immediately because as soon as I saw the Antutu numbers, which is at 1.6 million points, I immediately knew that this was not Snapdragon, because Snapdragon has been consistently giving us scores with up to or even upwards of 2 million points. So for example, if I go ahead and compare the Antutu benchmarks on the Xiaomi 14, you'll be able to see that we have 1.96 million points. So then you start thinking, why would you not buy a phone that comes with a Snapdragon chipset for example, the likes of a OnePlus 12, which is a phone that's equally priced as the S24 Ultra, sorry, the S24, and then it's also maybe a better phone overall. It has maybe a better camera system, it has better battery life, and it's just an overall, I think, better value for money. Now, if we talk about the cameras, we have a triple camera setup this time, and it looks like it's pretty much unchanged from last year's Galaxy S23. So we have a main wide 50 megapixel camera, which is Samsung's ISO cell. It has f1.8 with a 24 millimeter focal length, and it has optical image stabilization. We have a second telephoto lens, which has 10 megapixels. It's also Samsung ISO cell. It has a 67 millimeter focal length, and also optical image stabilization, and also the ultra-wide camera, which is a 12 megapixel setup. I have to mention here that Samsung is continually refusing to fit an ultra-wide camera with auto-focusing capabilities on anything but the ultra models, which at this point is kind of unacceptable. So that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys some picture samples that I took from the Xiaomi 14 and the S24, but undoubtedly, even though I would say that the Samsung S24 kind of had better colors, better vivid pictures. One thing that I consistently saw with the Xiaomi 14 is that it looked like the pictures were blurred or the camera was dirty, even though it was really not. On the selfie camera as well, we have a 12 megapixel camera, and same thing over here. The Xiaomi seemed to be a little bit blurry for some reason, and you can see that it has that artificial beautifying factor, which I'm not a fan of. Even though it has a 32 megapixel camera, the picture quality on the Samsung was better even at 12 megapixels. Now, if you talk about the battery is not as big as you expect, and that's obviously because the phone is a compact phone. You can't really expect a bigger battery. This has a 4,000 milliampere battery, which is 100 more than last year's S23, which had 3,900 milliamperes. The disappointing thing about that is that the charging is still stuck at 25 watts when it comes to fast charging. Wireless charging, you're stuck at 15 watts, and I believe if you want to do reverse wireless charging, I think you have 5 or 4.5 watts of reverse wireless charging. On an endurance testing, this was able to give us about 12 hours of battery life with active use. On video playtime was able to give us around 17 hours. And then overall talk time gave us around 23 hours. So even though it's a smaller battery, it's kind of expected that that's the time that you're going to get. Similar scores with this one, which had a 4,600 milliampere battery. But because this is a bigger battery, it actually performs a little bit better than that. So if we talk about the pricing, which is the most concerning factor over here. So if you go for the 8 GB option, you're going to find this at around $800. If you go for the 12 GB option, then this is going to cost you right around $900. Regardless of what chipset you get, that's the price for both of them. And that's where my main point is, because as I mentioned a bit earlier, the Xiaomi 14 costs nearly $1,000, which is about $100 more than the Samsung S24. You have to also keep in mind that the S24 is probably going to give you 7 years of updates, whereas the Xiaomi is going to give you mainly 4 or 5 years of security updates and software updates. So looking at which one has better value than probably the S24, even with the Exynos chip. And yes, the performance is maybe slightly off, but I think in the long run, it doesn't matter that much. And it's very hardly noticeable when you're using this phone every day, unless you want to use this as a proper workhorse, then maybe you're going to get a little bit of an issue there. But then we also discussed yesterday with the Xiaomi 14 that there was reports of thermal throttling. And even though this clocked at 1.96 million points, that was peak performance. That was not sustained performance. So pretty much very similar numbers for both of them. I would go ahead and recommend the S24 Ultra, but if you don't want to stay with Android, then I would go ahead and also look at the iPhone 15. But nevertheless, those are my thoughts. This is my review on the S24 Ultra. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.